welcome back. So in this tutorial we're gonna look at Redux toolkit. So this is the app that we're gonna create, the to-do app. So you can say go, just add something here. Probably we're gonna say something like watch TV. Make an app. Like and subscribe. Then you have the ability to delete your to-dos and delete them. So this is all in this tutorial, so enjoy. Do app using React Native toolkit. So after you've initialized your expo app or React Native app, you have to then create the folders. So initially everything is working nicely, so I'm just gonna remove all the statements here and then just simply return an empty view. Just gonna simply return an empty view here and save it. Probably view the text of hello world just to show that it's working. I'll remove the styles as well because we don't really need them here, so I'm gonna remove that. I'm gonna save it like that. So we need to create a folder which we're gonna call source. And then within that source folder you're gonna create a folder which will have the components. Okay, that's fine. And then we're gonna create another folder for Redux, which we're gonna call it Redux. Okay, cool. So probably the first thing that we're gonna do now that we know is that we want to do a to-do app. So we're gonna have a header. So I'm gonna create a new folder which is gonna say to-do header, .js. Then I have this shortcut which is in React Native snippets, an extension. If we come here, React Native snippets, so I just say React Native functional element screen RNFS done. So I'm gonna save this. So this will be our header. So just change this to do list, and then probably that should be fine for now. And then we need to import that to-do list into, so we're gonna come here, let's create a function here which is gonna say we're gonna create a function here which is gonna be a root app const root app is equal to, then we're gonna return. So what we're gonna return view here, no styling still. And then in this view we're gonna have our to-do header. So that means then we have to import it. So we're gonna import to-do header. So I just like that. So I'm using GitHub Copilot to assist me. So that's why I just use it like that. and then we're gonna display our to do here. We're going to display our render. So okay, so we can make this to be functional. So root app, so that when we come here we can just simply say root app and then close it, and share. Okay, that's perfect. Our path here should be, we're gonna go to source, okay, that's fine. Probably we want to use safe area view. Safe area view just makes it that it respects the notch there, and if you wanna have like constant safe area view, it's better to import it from safe area view context to have it working across Android and iOS. So that's fine. We see our header there. So when we come here and then save it, so it says to-do list, which is something that we have here. So what else we can do here is that we can have a style here and give it a font of 20, font weight bold, line 20. So that looks good. And then what we're gonna do here, we're gonna provide a text input. So if we're gonna say we want a text input here, one text input, the text input is just gonna render, like, so we're gonna add an item there. So text input, the style will have like that style. So I think everything should be fine here. So add to do, and then we're gonna have an unchange here, which is gonna, so that we're still gonna set that up. So for example, if you, so we're gonna have to import here from React, we have to import use state. So what actually happens there is that when you, so what actually happens is that we're gonna say const value, and then we're gonna have a set value from your state initial to be empty. So that means then we call it value or to do. Let's call it to do, and then here this will be your set to do. Then I want to just change it slightly to render the set to do. So we're missing something. So these guys are not supposed to be there. I'm supposed to import text input, text input. Okay, let's save that. Looking good. So we want to probably put this text input in a view, which is gonna be centered. So I'm just gonna highlight all of it. And then I'm gonna option up and save that. And then I'm gonna put a style on that view. Then wanna save, want to give it a justify content center, and then align item center as well. So that's looking good. And then what we want to do as well, just create another button at the bottom. So probably the button will have a touchable opacity, touchable opacity. And then it will be just below our text input. So we want a button here. So I'm gonna save that. So what's actually happening is that we have a button which will have a width of 80%. And then this button will have an on press. And then when you press this button, we want to do some logic. So at the moment we're not going to do that logic here. So but at least we know that that is done. So from there we can move on to the next step, which is now rendering the items which are gonna be here. Let's make it black looks nicer. Let's make it black. That looks good. I'm happy with that. And then the text color is white. I'm happy with that. So what we wanna do now is that we wanna create a new component. The component now will be for the to-do list. So to-do list.js. Then we're gonna do the same thing, React Native personal elements style sheet. So that's looking good. So what's gonna happen here is that this will be the area whereby we're gonna render our to-dos. So that means then we have to import this component into component to the app. So the to-do list. So double click, copy, come to here, and then you want to, so what we want to do is that we want to import to do. So import it like that, and then we come here, we have to just place it there. So you can see here on the app that screen is being rendered. So what we want to do with this screen is that when you add an item, when you add a to-do, it will simply render a list going down of the items that you have. So for example, if we have let's say data is equal to the title will be Learn React Native, and then we'll probably have another set there. So when I say Learn React Native, and then let's say another item will be to learn Redux toolkit. toolkit. So yeah, so this will be our data for this. So we have to say, make it a const data. Okay, so what we want to do now is that we want to render this to-dos in a list. So we're gonna use a flat list here. List, and then here we want a flat list. The flat list will take data, which is these items there. And then in flat list you must have a render item. The render item means how do you want to display your to-dos. So it's normally a render item, and then you take that item and then you take the title of it. That's fine. And then we're gonna have you must also have a key extractor. And then the key extractor typically will take, it must be unique to whatever you're doing. So the key extractor in this case will be our ID, and then there should be our flat list. So let's press save. So you have flat list there, and you have flat list. So that's fine. So what we want to do with this guy, we just want to style it just a little bit so that we can have like a delete button. So if you don't want to, if you don't like a to-do list, you can just delete it. So what I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna say want a render item function with a delete button. Then we're gonna const. So we want to return a view, so delete. Okay, so let's close it off. That's fine. So when you come here, we want to say the item. I give it a background color, padding, gen. Also I give it a title, font size, delete, font size, color red. I think that should be about it. So we wanna replace everything here with the render item. Okay, that's perfect. So what we wanna do as well, we wanna change this guy to be something like gray. Let's see, I'll just look at gray. No, it's ugly. So let's try something like in9. Yes, perfect. So that's fine. So what I want to do is that this should be the delete button should be a touchable opacity. Start delete button with an impress. So the unpress we're gonna add later. So if we go further down here, put a touchable opacity on that. I want them to I want to replace that delete button with a frontlit with an icon. So from expo icons, so probably so what we're gonna do is that we're gonna import here expo icons, icon. So we want a delete button from, even you can call it a trash. Want the trash. So if you go to this website which says expo icons, you can just say trash here and then look for the trash that you want. So let's choose this one. So we just have to copy this one as well. So the first copy, we're just gonna put it here, and then the second copy, we're just gonna put it, instead of the delete, we're gonna put it there. The color will be red. So touchable opacity from React Native, and then we got a problem. Let's remove this, and then we're just gonna give it a flex direction of row direction. There, we want it to be a row, and then want to give it a justify content of space between. We want to give it an align terms of center. It's fine. And then we're gonna increase slightly to something like 30. Yeah, now that's good. So what I also think, probably we should reduce the font size a little bit to something like 20. Yes. So what we're gonna do now is that our UI is done. So the next thing that we want to do is to actually now start with the setting up our Redux. So we want to start setting up Redux. So let me just give it this one 90% and this guy 90%, so it looks nicer. That looks better. And then font size there can remain 20. Yeah, this looks better. So what we want to do now is that we're gonna set up Redux toolkit. So the first thing that we do is come here, and then what we want to do from there, the first thing we want to do is that we're going to set up a store. Create a folder called store.js. So store.js essentially is our main store, which is going to contain all the recursors. So it's going to contain all the logic for the tasks. So what we're gonna do here is we have to import configure store from Redux toolkit, and then so after we import configure store from Redux toolkit, and then we have to export the default configure store, and then we're gonna add some logic here from like we'll have a reducer, then the reducer will have like the logics. For example, here we need to create a reducer for the tasks, so we're just gonna call it tasks, and then the reducer for that we'll probably call it task reducer. So don't worry about this now, we're just gonna do it after this one. So what we're explaining here is that our store will have these two things. So but what will happen now is we still have to import this task reducer, so we need to create a another function here, which is gonna be our task slice. So what happened here, we have to create another folder which is gonna call task slice. The task slice.js so React Native functional element screen. So in this case we actually don't need to make it. So what we're gonna do for our, so we have to import create slice, from so it's supposed to be create slice from Redux toolkit, and then we have to export now, export const task slice and then we're gonna equate this one to create slice, and then create slice gonna open bracket and close bracket, and then we're gonna name this one tasks. So this will be the name of our, if this was like an item, so it's what's gonna be contained within for the registers. Initial state of the task is that we're gonna have nothing. So initially we're gonna have no tasks, and then we have to set up the reducer for that. So the first reducer will be like add task. So when you add task, it will take in state and an action. So we're gonna say, we're just gonna destructure it. So const new task, const new task will be equal to, the new task will be equal to the ID. So the ID will be actually be your action.payload.id. So that's the ID for that, like to do item, and then it will take in a name as well, and then the name will be an action payload plus name. So that means then, like, now you're taking, when you type something, you're gonna have an ID and you're gonna have whatever name you have for that to do. So that's what the new task will have. So when you have this new task, what you wanna do is that, so when you have this new task, what you wanna do is that you wanna like push this new task into the state. So we're gonna say state.push new task. So you're pushing the new task into the state now. So this is a JavaScript concept when you push something. So then we're gonna close it off. Then we're gonna have another one as well, which is when we wanna delete the task. So the task will also take a state and an action. So and then what will happen is that you want to return the state, but in that state you want to filter. So you want to filter mainly the item. So you want to check if, so what happens that you want to check if that item is not equal to the item which is pressed. So you just want to remove the item which you have selected as delete. So it will be item dot. So you want to check the item.id if it's equal to, so you want to check if it's not equal to the action.payload. So if those two are not equal, so you're filtering the one which is equal to, and then returning the rest. Fine. So these are our reducers. So since this is Redux toolkit, the action of having actions, we don't have to define separate actions, but we have to export what we have. Export what we have as const add task and delete task to the tasks slice actions, and then we want to also export default the task slice that reducer. Okay, I'm happy with this. So what we want now, want to take all these reducers into our store. So that means then we have to import it. What is called? It's called the task. So we have the tasks reducer. So we wanna import it. So we called it the task reducer. So we just have to say then now import task reducer from dot task slice. So we importing the task reducer from here, and then what we're actually doing after that, we importing it into our store. So our store has the delete and the add functionality. So like now we need to find a way to actually pass the store to the whole app. So the way we do that is that we come to this, remember, like this root app. So this is the root of our app. So what we want to do is that we want to wrap the root with the store. So in order to do that, we have to actually, import two things. The first thing we're gonna do is that we have to first import the store itself. So we have to import the store. So we're importing the store from, we go to the source, and then from the source we go to Redux, and then from Redux we go to the store, and we go to the store. And then another thing that we have to import as well is the provider. We have to import a provider from React Redux. So importing a provider from React Redux, and then that should be it. So we wrap our app in a provider. The provider will take a store which will be equal to store, and then also repeat again with the provider. So let's see what we're not doing correctly here. So you have your provider here. Let's see, what does it say? Okay, one thing that we haven't done as well is to actually import we have to add two libraries. So we have to expo add. The first library will be React Redux, and the second library will be Redux toolkit. So basically in our package.json we have to have both of those libraries. So second one is React Redux. So let's add those two packages. Yeah, so while they're installing, so let's just have a look here. So we have our app which takes in so it's just installing the packages. Okay, that's done now. So what we can do actually is so we've wrapped our whole app in the store, and then we have imported the store as well. We have imported the two packages, which is React Redux and Redux toolkit. So what we can do now is to connect those buttons. So for example, when you actually go to when you type it to do and press add, you want to add whatever you're typing in, you want to add it to your initial state. So if I go to the to-do header, and we're gonna use two concepts here. A concept which is called use dispatch. So with dispatch, it's actually dispatching something into our initial state. So we take it as if like it's a delivery person. A delivery person picks up a package and takes it somewhere. So so they take the package and they dispatch it to a certain place. So I'm quite happy with that concept. So I think then like we can just extend it to say that, so we have to import like now the use dispatch. So because we're dispatching, so use dispatch, and then so that we don't keep on using use dispatch, we're gonna just rename it as dispatch. So we're gonna say const dispatch is equal to use dispatch. So it's just, instead of saying use dispatch everywhere, we're gonna just like put dispatch. So that means then now what happens is that, so when you submit, you want to dispatch the task. So when you submit, you want to dispatch the task. So we're gonna say on submit const, we're gonna create a new function called on submit task. So on submit task, what you wanna do is that you wanna, so on submit task, you wanna do this thing. So you wanna dispatch the whatever is added to your initial state. So that should be fine, but what I want now is that if it happens that like there's nothing which is being typed, for example, if someone doesn't type anything, so I want to create an error there, or an alert or something which tells them, okay, you must type something. So we're gonna say if so what I want to do is that so let's see here. So what we're gonna say is that if to do whatever is being typed dot trim, so and then you remove all the empty ends, and then dot length is equal to 0. So this just means if there's nothing which is being typed, then we want an alert, which says please add a task, and then we're gonna set to do to be empty, otherwise return. So if that's false, then now you want to dispatch. Now we can dispatch, and then we want to dispatch the task, which will be tied to the task. So the task will be tied to the task, and then what do you want to happen after that is that, so we're closing it here, then we're gonna set to do to be nothing. Okay, that looks about right. Do we have an error? Do we have anything? So let's save it. So we open this guy. Okay, now that's fine. So let's on submit task, let's go to the button which says add. So when you press on it, it must run that function which is there on submit task. Press on that, and submit task. So let's try it. Supposed to give us an alert if the to-do dot trim dot length is equal to 0, then alert this guy, and then set the to-do to be nothing, then you want to return. If that is done, you wanna disperse, then you want to disperse the task. So I think this guy is correctly typed. You wanna say add to do, then this will take the task, which will be taking the task. Now this is taking the to do, yes, and then gonna close it off, then gonna close it off once more. Let's save that, and then we wanna set the to do to be nothing, and then we wanna, okay, let's do something whereby we log empty. So let's see, restart this guy, command K. Just gonna restart the app. Okay, let's see if, yeah, so it's working nicely. So when you press on add, it gives an error. It gives an empty state. So if we press on empty again, so it's working nicely. So what we can do is that most probably it's because I didn't like, so most probably if we say, so I think it's working nicely. So what we want to do now is that we we have to say alert. It makes sense. So let's say alert, and then we have to import the alert here. Where's React Native alert? And let's save this. Okay, so want to alert them, you need to add a task, you need to enter a task if it is empty. So if it's empty, they must enter a task. You need to enter a task, so that's fine. So like now, if it's not empty, you want to add the task. You want to dispatch that task using the function which is add to do. So that's fine. So like now we can move on to our to-do list. If we come to the to-do list, currently it's rendering the to-do list using this data here. So what we want to do now is that we don't want to use this data. We want to use the data that the person puts in. So that means that now we're going to use that second concept, which is a selector. So a selector, basically after the delivery person gives you the package, now you take that package and give it to whoever needs the package. So if it's a letter, you could give it to your grandma. If it's an iPad, give it to your son or daughter. Yeah, so now you're doing the selector, you're selecting. So like now when a person has a to-do list here, has typed a to-do list, you wanna use the selector to drop it down to the individual sections. So what we're gonna do now is that we're gonna go to the section, and then we have to import selector, use selector, import selector from React Redux, use selector. Okay, and then what we want to do with this guy is that we also want to say that like now, so the use selector contains all our to-do items. So instead of always saying use selector something, you can just say const to-dos is equal to use selector, and then from the use selector we want to return all the to-dos or all the tasks. So all the tasks. That looks cool. And then what we want to do after that is to now let's render this, which is instead of rendering data, we're gonna render the to-dos. We're gonna get the to-dos, and then it's gonna be empty. It's gonna be empty because we don't have a to-do yet. So let's say we want to learn React native, and then say add. So they're saying that they can't find to-dos. Let's go to our delete button. So on our button here, on our header, did we import to do? We didn't import to do here, so we need to import to do, the add, this add to do. In fact, we called it add task, So if we go to our reducer, we want to import this add task. So let's come here, import add task from Redux, and then we want to say there add task. So let's see if everything works out nicely. So you wanna come out of here and go to React Redux, and then from there you wanna go to the task slice. So let's see if we put in everything correctly. By the look of things, it looks about right. So undefined is an item for our key. So our key here, the key for our flat list render to-dos. So what you want to do now is that you want actually for our list, you want to get this should work. So let's see if it will work now. So it is working, but it's not displaying the to-dos. So if we go to the render, so it's because we don't have item.title, rather we have on our to-do to-do.name, so we call it name. So here we have to call it name. Okay, let's go start here again. So it's adding the items, but it's not really. This will be to-do.name. To-do. So let's see if we're not doing everything. So here we want the ID. Here we actually taking everything from the task. The name is coming from the task. Then item ID. So let's save this. Let's see how it looks now. If we wanna watch the car. Okay, it's working now. So the next thing we wanna do is to learn Redux. Add it there. So we want an ability to delete it. So to add the ability to delete it, we already have on our slice we already have the delete task, so we want to also disperse now. So what we did dispersing now is actually a delete. So we want to go to our to do, then so because like to delete a task is a disperse, because what actually now you, instead of delivering, you're sending the same postman, but you're sending something which is taking you, like you removing something from your main state. So it's a disperse. So we have to import, the first thing we have to import first, let's not do a mistake of not importing our, so we have to first import the delete task. Delete task from yes, and then we have to import as well, use disperse, use disperse. Okay, and then the last thing that we want to do, like we do, just shorten the use disperse to be something which is simple like disperse. So const disperse is equal to use disperse. And then what we want to do here is that we want to disperse whenever we delete, we want to disperse something. So I'm going to create a new function called const item delete. So item delete. So this will be a function which will do a disperse of delete item. So this will disperse delete task. This will disperse delete task. So this, let's take one step at a time to delete task, and then it's gonna check the ID. If the ID is equal to the ID which is being selected, and then it's gonna, if they equal, that item is gonna be deleted. So now when you press on delete, you want to run this on press, when I run this delete item. So should we test it out? Let's test it out. So let's not make it to run immediately. Let's not. So let's do this delete task, and then we're gonna put it like that. Nothing is happening here, so let's see what could we be doing incorrectly. So if we check the delete slice, so the delete slice, delete task, let's see if we imported it correctly. Delete task, yeah, that's correct from Redux. So that's correct. And then one thing we should wanna check as well, if we did correctly here, which is correct again. And then what we want to check now is to check the slice. Delete task. We want to return a state which is whereby we filter the ID, and then we check if the ID selected is not equal to the action dot payload dot ID. And then we return from there. You return from that. So get your tasks there. That's correct. So let's see, did we perhaps miss on something? Command K. Command K. Let's restart. Hi. So they can't find the ID. So if I come here and check, the delete task is taking an ID. Oh, it's because for our to do we didn't destructure. We're not taking in. So for the ID, we supposed to take the to-do.id. So this is supposed to be so what's actually happened here, I'm supposed to pass in this item.id, because when you delete an item, you're supposed to check the ID if it matches. So as an argument here, you're supposed to pass that item ID. So that works. Let's say go to work, and then we add that wash dishes. If I can spell dishes, let's add that. So we can delete this one, we can delete this one. But what you notice is that now the way you coded it, if I say subscribe to the channel. So if you have two subscribe to the channel. So if you have two identical to-dos, we get this list, we get this error. So this error is just saying that these two to-dos have the same key, so they should have separate keys. This is caused by this section here. So if we go to our slice, when we actually assign an ID to a new task, we actually give it the task name to be the ID. So if you add two tasks which have the same ID, you're gonna get this error. I think the way we can get around this is by using something which is called nano ID from Redux toolkit. since it's identical, we can just simply put it here. So it's called nano ID. So what this will do is actually it will generate a unique ID based on whatever you add. So I'm just gonna do a console log of the nano ID. So if I come here, so let's say command K to clear everything. So let's say watch tech TV. So let's add that. So notice how it generated this unique user ID. So we want to do the same thing here. So we're just gonna take, instead of this one, we're gonna do it just like that. So let's save that. Let's type in something. Hello. So let's add hello. Let's add another hello again. Hello. So initially it was going to give us an error. Let's see what it does now. Boom, no error. So that means the nano ID is working nicely for this. So in summary, this has been a tutorial on how we can create a to-do list using Redux toolkit. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, subscribe and give it a like. Thanks, bye.